It's okay. It's mostly for the YouTube. Hi there. We
Good
are
morning.
live, and we are in sunny Portland, Oregon today, and it is very, 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 very hot. We are having record temperatures, so it's a great day to talk about Mars and Venus, who are the hotties in your hands. So we are going to talk a little bit about Mars and Venus. They are right next to each other in the hands. And so we are the Hand Readers Guild. I am Leslie Zemenek.
I'm Stephanie Parrish, Alvidrez Parrish. Actually, I got that wrong.
Your own name, okay.
So
We're doing this a little early in the morning because of the heat, and it is hot. So our brains might be a little dead. You'll have to forgive us. I hope you're having fun with us between this and the other video where the dogs were barking. Yeah, we're just kind of, we roll with the punches. So so today we are going to talk about Mars and Venus. So let's pull up a little diagram and show you where Mars and Venus are in the hands. So we're going to start with Mars. This is Mars. And actually, we're just going to let you know that Venus is that large mound in your thumb right below it. So, but we'll see that in a little bit later. But Mars and Venus are part of the thumb area. If you actually, it's the mound associated with the thumb, both of those. Mars is, of course, the god of war, but Mars astrologically and mythologically wasn't only about getting angry at people. It can talk about getting angry, and we do look at that in your hands, but it also talks about determination, resistance, pioneering, courage. What are some other Mars words, Stephanie?
Being the warrior, you're fighting for a cause. You
right.
Have some reason to be angry.
Right. Taking the initiative, being a self-starter.
Right.
Right. Taking action. Those are all Mars things.
Activating, taking initiative, active pursuits.
Mars is associated with athletes. So anyway, it's at leaders, adventurers.
Mm-hmm. You gotta have some kind of it's courageous. There we go.
It's courageous. It's about being able to get up and go.
Mm-hmm.
So
not being afraid to do it.
And it is part in astrology. It is part of knowing yourself. What do I? Mars and Venus are both a little bit about what do I want and what do I do.
Yeah.
So you know, we often think about Mars only in that one negative way, but it's really got all kinds of stuff, energy that we really need to move forward in life. So that said, let's look at Mars in the hands. So in this particular hand, what we've got is an oddly shaped Mars. This is a Mars that's kind of like scooched up and shrunken because that thumb is kind of squishing it. What would you say about this Mars?
I would say that it's trying to take over, but is kind of getting pushed back. Like they try to stand up for themselves, but then they're like, oh, never mind. That's a lot of work.
Right. So what you see here is you've got not a lot of room. If you were to think about the energy of Mars moving out of the hand, there's only a little narrow space between the thumb and the index finger for it to get through. So it's a pretty large Mars in terms of this hand, but it doesn't seem like it's very effective.
Right. Internal.
It just, it gets a little stuck, or it has a narrow realm in which it can work. So here's another Mars coming up. This is a Mars that is definitely large. So it's definitely large. It takes up half the real estate of that area where that Mars and Venus share. And it's got a big dividing line, which we're going to talk about later. And it's got some boxes going across it. It's got a grid and lots of lines going across it. So the lines that are going across it definitely tell us something about its energy. boxes are feeling boxed in.
Yep.
And with a large Mars, and you can see it kind of poofs out a little around the edge. With a large Mars with boxes, that would definitely, would say, show a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
And then getting angrier, the more frustrated this person gets.
Yes. I usually see that boxing in the Venus area, not as much in the Mars. So
right.
A lot
right.
more of you can't be angry. Don't be angry. Box that up. We're gonna be happy.
Right.
That's all I can hear out of this hand.
Right,
Just
exactly.
that frown upside down.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now this Mars is pretty small.
Yeah. Where'd it go?
Yeah, it's almost non-existent. And if you look, the line that circles around Mars and Venus is called the lifeline. And we haven't talked about the lifeline, but the lifeline is essentially your energy. It shows how much energy you have. It's your life force. And it's also your first chakra. If you know about chakras, you can consider that your groundedness or not groundedness. Anyway, there is a secondary line around coming in on Mars around inside the lifeline there, and it circles all the way around Mars and goes down into Venus a little bit. And this is a line of protection. So this is a person who maybe had negative Mars experiences early in life and had to put this very, very deep line, one of the deepest lines on this hand, actually, line of protection between the life force and, any aggression that might come in through Mars. I actually happen to remember this person. They happen to be a little bit passive aggressive.
I would say that with that between the thumb and the Mars. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense for this hand.
Yes, definitely for this hand.
Okay. Now, we've got a little star on Mars. This hand has a star on Mars. So I've marked it in a little bit of yellow. I'm not sure if you can see that very well on the screen. If you have to stop the video and take a look if you're watching in the replay, maybe you can zoom in a little, but it's definitely there. It's a star, and a star on Mars is not necessarily a good thing. We look at stars in the hands as explosions of energy. And an explosion on Mars, depending on the mound of Mars, could say, uh-oh, this person's getting ready to explode. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about stars on Mars?
Well, I always take the other side and say that could be a courageous mark of courageous warrior.
Right.
But they actually have to do a battle. It could be mental or physical, but it's a battle mark, a mark of going into war.
Right. Yeah. Right. So if the Mars is in good shape, then that's a way that they could use it. If the Mars is a little bit weak or oversized, then I would be concerned that explosion of energy might go in the wrong direction.
Right. They could be a little bit more on the dictator side.
Right. Right. And
take over the world.
Just to mention quickly some other ways that Mars can be weak is you can actually kind of see if your Mars mound is firm or is it soft? Squishy. If it's squishy, it's like landing in a pillow, right? You land in a pillow and you don't have any momentum. But if it's more firm, it's more like jumping off a trampoline. So when we think about taking action, if you have a nice firm Mars mound, then you can kind of jump on that Mars trampoline and off you go towards whatever activity, because activity is a Mars word, that you're trying to pursue. If you have the pillow Mars, you might just go, oh, I might just kind of rest here for a while and not take some action right now. So those are other ways to look at Mars being weak or strong. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one more Mars I want to look at. This particular hand, you have to really look close. You have to look pretty close. Maybe I can use my mouse to help for this. Can you see that, my mouse, Stephanie?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so right in this area here, you see that there's a little fingerprint kind of action happening. And there are some times when, we didn't want to do that. Going back. Sometimes when the hands have these print patterns in the palm, not just on your fingertips. So when a print type pattern, and in this case, it's a tiny little, looks like a little peacock's eye, shows up on a mound, that's an important marker too. And that usually shows that that energy of that mound is more important in this person's life. It can be part of their life purpose, or it can be part of their lesson. In this case, with the peacock's eye, wouldn't you say that that means this person has a Martian type mission to accomplish?
Yes, there's a specific mission for them.
Right. That means something they have to take action on, something they have to be a warrior for.
Yep.
Some way in which they're supposed to step out in the world and advocate for a particular something. And we might find out in a longer reading what the rest of that is. So I find it interesting when I see ridge patterns on these palms.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to look at Venus. Going back to that slide. These slides all move on click. So if I click my mouse, sometimes it moves further than I intended. But you know what? We can go backwards. So here's a hand with showing you where Venus is. And what would you say about the size of this Venus?
This Venus, I actually think is, it's all right.
It's pretty balanced. Fairly
balanced. Fairly
right.
balanced. It's slightly bigger, but not too bad.
Right. It's not too bad. But it does have a big upper thumb on that hand.
Yes, it does. Got to balance that thumb out.
Right. So, yeah, you almost think that thumb is a little bit too heavy for that base. But, and if you haven't seen our video on thumbs, you should go back and watch it, because it was a lot of fun. And we gave a lot of good info on thumbs. So this is showing you where Venus exists in the hand. It's the base of the thumb. What does Venus talk to us about? Venus in mythology was originally a goddess of the harvest. She was about spring and growth. But it wasn't until she got kind of associated with Aphrodite with the Greeks, because Venus is Roman, that she got associated with love. And actually, if you really go back and read Venus's mythology, she wasn't all about flowery love, and because she was married to Hephaestus, who was the smith, who was deformed, by the way. She was actually very promiscuous. I'm not going to use the other S word. I thought about it. She was promiscuous. She had a lot of affairs, including one with Mars. So she got around. So Venus represents our sexuality. That's one of the things it represents. It represents our desires. Venus definitely represents desires. It does talk about our capacity to love. Are we holding it back, or are we really expressing it? And it also indicates our playfulness. She was a playful goddess. And if that actually is part of what we think about when we associate her with spring and early life, when we think about her original meaning, going back to spring, that's where we get the association of looking at the inner child in the Venus mound. So do you have anything to add of that about what I'm missing about the Venus mound?
Yeah, I usually talk about joy and abundance and luxuries. How
luxuries.
People might like the finer things in life.
Right.
It's like a taste of a person with good taste.
Right.
Or they think they have good taste.
Yes. Or are they sensual? Are they vain?
Right.
Are they generous? Generosity, we can see here. Earthiness.
Yep.
Are they down to earth? Okay, so,
Yeah.
and just like Mars is associated with sports and athletes, the more feminine side of being active in the body is dancing. And that's one of the things we can kind of think about with Venus.
Mm-hmm. Movement of the body.
Movement of the body.
Yep.
Okay, and so both of those together are about movement of the body.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to show you a really, really huge Venus next. This is, I think, of all the handprints I have, the biggest Venus I've ever seen. What about that?
Yeah.
Yep, that is, and Mars. Venus and Mars are both so big, they are protruding out the side of the hand. And yeah, it kind of makes the hand look a little deformed. So Mars is taking up more real estate in terms of the mound. When you look at the line that we probably think of as the dividing line. Mm-hmm. But Venus is really, really meaty, even though it's small.
They're almost equal in size.
Yes.
If you took out that lifeline, they'd be very equal. Like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but they both just really protrude out. They have a lot of energy. So there's some anger there. And what do we say about an oversized Venus? One of the things we associate with oversized Venus is petulance, being childish. I want my way. With an oversized Mars and Venus, it's going to be, this is my way or the highway.
Right.
I want my way. And if I don't get my way, I will stomp my feet and throw a tantrum.
Physically, I will do that. I will make sure that life is hell for everyone.
If I
don't get my way.
Yep. Yes, this is a very unusual Mars and Venus.
The whole hand is like that, but yes, that.
What's that?
I said the whole hand is very unusual.
Yes, the whole hand is very unusual. I want to say that I have seen a large Venus mound on a popular world leader who will remain nameless, but who is known for wanting to get his way.
So many people.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's probably more than one that can come to mind, but I'm one in particular I have seen on the hand. And so if you know people who are kind of like that, you might want to look to see if their Venus mound is huge. Also, we could think of this person as oversexed. That might be part of it as well. What else would you think about Mars and Venus like this? Because Mars is actually associated with sexuality to some degree too.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the pursuit.
Yes. It could be an aggressive pursuit.
Yes.
I would also say overindulging or overeating or over the top.
Yep.
Over everything.
Yep.
Over sex drive, over
needy
desires, yeah.
Overly needy.
Yeah. Overeating, over drinking.
Right.
Maybe over drugging. Numbing. Yeah.
Right.
Because there's so overwhelmed. That could be it too.
Yeah. There's just so much over in this hand.
Yeah. I'm so over. So over it.
Right. Over concerned with self potentially too.
Yeah.
Like the world revolves around me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's look at this is a smaller Venus, not super small, but it is a little bit tight. But this Venus also has a little whirl on it.
Oh, I can't see that.
It's here. Let me see if I can get the oops, we want to go back. Right here. Can you see my mouse swirling around it? Right there. It's hard to see because there's a lot of lines on top of it, and you could easily miss it. And that's the problem with some of these ridge patterns in the palm, is that you sometimes don't see them because there's lines covering them. I actually have a loop on my Mound of the Moon that I didn't know about for years and years and years because there were a lot of lines covering it. And eventually those lines, some of them disappeared, and I went, hey, who knew that was under there? So this is a whorl on Venus, and I have to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a whorl on Venus other than this hand. I think this might be the only one I've ever seen out of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hands. It's pretty unusual.
I've seen a couple of them.
You have?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of whorls on Mars, but not too many on Venus. So what did you say about the whorl on Venus?
When I talked about it, I talked about bringing joy to the world, and that was kind of what their purpose was to be here to be of service to people and bring them joy and happiness.
Right.
It kind of fit with the rest of the hand, so that was what came out of that particular one.
But I would also say that this person is here to indulge themselves and be okay with that.
Yeah.
And be okay with that. Because if you remember, we haven't talked a lot about life purposes in our series yet, but in a service lifetime, one of the jobs of the person who's here to serve is to own that they have desires and remember what they are, like really name what their desires are. They are here to make sure they understand that they have to meet their own desires before they can meet the desires of others. So I would say that this person is definitely here to get in touch with their own desires and fulfill them. So I think that's pretty darn interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go back to a hand we saw before. And we're going to look at the dividing line. So sometimes there is a line, a very distinct and deep line in between Mars and Venus. And in the Life Prints system, the International Institute of Hand Analysis system of hand reading, that line is named for a pair of Shakespeare characters, Pyramus and Thisbe, who I think were kind of like Romeo and Juliet. They were lovers who were separated. Am I right on that? Do you remember the story?
I do remember the story, and I believe it was a Greek story that maybe Shakespeare adapted.
Right.
I think. But Pyramus and Thisbe lived in a duplex or a housing where they shared a wall, and their parents, of course, were dueling. This was like the only wall of the compound maybe that they shared, and so their parents were the fighting. You can never marry this person. You can never marry this person from their families. And so at night they would sit by the wall and whisper to each other about how much they loved each other. And it's basically the story of how the two, it's more about masculine and feminine, and how what's the ending? It's more, sorry.
That's right. Not another whole story.
Story. The end of the story is about they run away, and he's supposed to meet her under the mulberry tree, and it's a white tree, and she goes there first and sees that there was a lioness, and so her scarf got left, and she ran away, and he came back and thought that the lioness was eating her because he saw her scarf in her mouth, and so he killed himself, and then she came back and killed herself, and that's mulberry trees are red now because of that that story.
Wow, I didn't remember that part.
Yeah, that was the whole ending part of it. But it's about how you can be courageous yet you can still be cowardly. Like,
okay,
you know, and how you could see one situation is not really that as dire as it seems.
So what does this Pyramus and Thisbe line mean in the hand? It's keeping Mars and Venus apart.
Yep.
So not combining your masculine and feminine energies, not letting them speak to each other.
Keeping them separated.
Right. So how can that play out? That can play out in, oh boy, so many ways.
So many ways.
And in different hands, it would be different. For instance, if someone has an overly if Mars is dominant, it would be that they might be suppressing the feminine more than and owning the masculine, or it could be the other way around. What are some things that you've seen in terms of people with this hand? Because I know you tend to point it out a lot when you look at prints.
I tend to get this with people a lot, and it's usually in the hands of men. And I think they have, I think it's the way our society is changing, that they are battling the difference between masculine and feminine, because they might tend to be more what we would consider feminine. They might be more sensitive or have more intuition that we don't necessarily think men are. Usually we don't say, oh, that man has great intuition. No, we say he has gut instincts. So
right.
A little bit of language change, and as well as a little bit of how they're experiencing their sensitivity versus their masculinity.
Right.
So that's what I see in men. I don't necessarily see it a lot in women, but I would think it would be the opposite of them trying to figure out how their femininity and masculinity are trying to relate. Even though our society has women have to do these things and men have to do these things, we're kind of breaking that that barrier. And this is kind of a confusion in the hand a little bit, like, but I'm supposed to be the guy. I'm supposed to be going and working instead of staying at home with the kids. Or even though I love staying home with the kids, it's kind of a thing in there that they're battling with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then we've got another one. This one happens to be a hand of a man. This one is the hand of a woman.
More Venus.
Way more Venus.
Maybe she's looking for more femininity in her life and she's very masculine.
It's possible. That's an awfully big thumb too.
Yeah.
And that, and again, closed up thumb. So Mars doesn't have a lot of ways to get that energy out into the world. It's kind of being squeezed. And it has a little wrinkle in it that above the line, the Pyramus and Thisbe line, I would say that that's a little wrinkle. And that would be a clue to me that this mound is soft and poofy and not resilient. So
maybe she's trying to find her her warrior self in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's working on that.
Right.
Sometimes
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there were so many cultural, and and in different cultures. I mean, you and I, we're in the United States, but think about so many other cultures that have really rigid rules about gender. This gender can do this and this can do that, and old traditions about who's allowed to do what. And we're not really as progressive here as we think either.
No, we're not. I was thinking about that today earlier. Like, we really haven't made it extremely far.
No, I mean, the fact that there's some countries that we think of as not as progressive as ours who've had women in the top leadership role. And it's taken us this long to get a female vice president. So we're not as progressive. And then, there's still a lot of stuff that's taboo for guys. I mean, a lot of guys will get beat up because they show some, feminine aspect of themselves. So anyway, it's it still shows up in the hands of people of all ages. This division and this kind of trying hard to figure out how to own both sides of ourselves, because we all have both sides.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so last slide I want to talk about. Here we have this Mars happens to be a little small in this hand, and Venus happens to be quite round. But you can still see where they are in relationship to each other. And I just wanted to point out that those of you who are familiar with the chakras, that the third and fourth chakras are Mars and Venus in the hand. So if you are looking to understand the condition of the chakras, you can actually look at the hands, and we will at some point have a separate video on that coming up. So a little coming attraction here. Yes, we will have more to say about chakras later, but you can see here, I would say that this is a third chakra, has some problems because maybe this person is, here's what I would say about this in terms of chakras. Their fourth chakra is showing that they're very much in their heart and possibly even a little bit indulgent, whereas their third one is saying that they don't take a lot of action because they'd rather sit around in their luxuries.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have, you can tell a little bit about the energy centers. You can read them from that standpoint or not. So that's all we have to say about Mars and Venus today. What I do want to say is we do have a Facebook group. We're actually going live here on YouTube today and in our Facebook group. It's called Hand Readers Guild Forum. You can look for us there. We have a page called the Hand Readers Guild. Our website is coming soon. And we're going to continue to have some more episodes here. What are some of the other things we're going to talk about?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. We're going to talk about all of it, I think.
Yes, chakras. I think stars in the hands, the different stars you can find in your hands. We'll have a little episode on that. We'll talk a little bit about fingerprints, but that's a big topic. It's a big topic, but we'll give you a little bit of insight into fingerprints. We're going to talk about heart lines and what it means for your relationships. We're going to talk about fingers. We've already talked about the thumbs, but we have 4 other fingers that we still have to get to. We'll talk about intuition in the hands. There's so much. There's so many things that we can see in the hands. It's such a great topic, and we hope that you will find this interesting and will want to come and learn more. All right, so I think we're going to sign off. I am going to go water my garden one more time before it gets really hot today.
That's what I'm doing too. And then going inside and shutting everything up.
Yes, it's pretty hot. So we talked about the hotties in the hands and on this hot day in Portland. And we hope to see you here again. Like our channel, like our video, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Hand Readers Guild is the name of it. And come see us in the Facebook group, and we'll see you next time. Bye.